Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Susie Jane Designs. Are your kids already driving you insane this summer, telling you how bored they are? Because mine are. One of our favorite sayings in this house is, if you're bored, I can give you something to do. Have you done your chores yet? Every single chore system that we have tried in our house thus far has been a major flop, to be honest. We've done papers that hang on the fridge. We've tried, just telling our kids. I've tried just writing a sticky note every day for something that I want them to get done. It's been an endless battle around here, and it's hard for us as parents to keep track of the extra chores that our kids decide to do throughout the week because they want to earn a little extra cash. So I decided, let's change that. Let's make this a little bit more functional for the family, right? Because that's pretty much what like 90% of my DIYs are about. So in today's video, we are making a chore board. Now the items that we're using today were items that we actually already had on hand. Melissa and Doug is a great brand as far as like children's supplies, and things like that. So what we started out with were two pieces, which I purchased from Barnes & Noble years ago. I'm talking years ago, like 10 plus years ago, okay? They're old. But that doesn't mean that they don't have the same things or something similar available. And I guarantee if you go onto Facebook Marketplace or Swip Swap or whatever all those other places are, I am sure that you could find something similar to what we started out with. And even if you can't, you can literally just get framed boards, whiteboards, chalkboards, anything like that to start out with this project. So we already had this choreboard calendar system that I purchased from Barnes & Noble. And when our oldest daughter was like 3, and she was the only one that had any kind of chores, it worked out great. Especially because this particular choreboard has things like brush your teeth, take a bath, things that your kids need to be reminded to do when they're younger or even when they're older, let's be honest. But that's not something that I really wanted to have hanging up in our house for my 14-year-old to remind her to take a bath. We do have a 3-year-old who is soon to be 4. But again, it just wasn't a piece that was functional for our family for the various age ranges that we have. So I decided to go ahead and switch things up and make this more functional for our family. So all of that being said, let's jump into this project. Okay guys, so here is one of the boards that we're starting out with. They are magnetic and they are both whiteboard. So I'm going to start out by removing all the magnets and then cleaning up the dry erase that we have on here. Something that I definitely recommend, guys, is to go ahead and do a coat of Mod Podge or something over the top of this before you move on, because that was my first mistake with this project, was not sealing the dry erase board portion before starting all of my painting. Anyway, after you've done that, I do take my antique wax and go around all of the wood frame pieces, wiping away any excess with just a paper towel. Okay, so then here was my second mistake. I cannot find Waverly chalk paint like anywhere right now. So I was using a matte acrylic paint and it just was not, I wasn't getting the same coverage that I get from Waverly chalk paint, and it was just sliding right off. So it actually took 3 coats just to do this the first time around, and you'll see what I mean by that here in a moment. Basically, this part's pretty straightforward. You're just going to be painting the center of your boards for the background we're looking for kind of like that chalkboard kind of feeling going on. The green bits that you see in between the two boards there, I would recommend painting those. I didn't do that and I regret not doing it. So just a tip there. And then we are also going to just repeat this whole process on the second board. Now I am going to take 4 paint stir sticks and I'm going to use the antique wax and cover the front and the sides of each one of these paint stir sticks. Same process, just put on a layer, wipe off any excess with a paper towel. Once those are all done and dry, I'm taking some gel super glue as well as hot glue and I'm placing it on those, I don't even know what to call this, straps, I guess. And then I'm just gonna adhere 1 paint stir stick in the middle of each one of these boards. And again, we're just repeating this same process on the other set of boards as well. And if you watch a lot of crafting videos, you already know why I'm using 2 different glues, but if you don't watch a lot of crafting videos, the reason for using super glue and hot glue, the super glue is going to give you that long-term hold. You can also use E6000 or something of that nature, and then the hot glue just gives us a more instant hold, so that we can continue working on the project and don't have to wait for that longer term hold glue to dry. That sounded really weird. I'm sure you guys got what I meant. So you do want these to be directly in the center, lined up really evenly. Don't worry about the edges, having those gaps, we'll deal with that. Next, we're gonna lay the boards side by side. It's kind of hard because it's such a big piece to get a clear picture of this, so I'm trying my best for you guys. But we're just gonna lay the 2 pieces side by side and use the extra paint stir sticks and the super glue for the long-term hold, hot glue for the short-term hold, and we are going to meet up in the middle with those paint stir sticks, and this is providing that extra stability. I didn't show you guys because it was a little difficult to film, but I did also add paint stir sticks across the back in both directions in order to add some extra support on the back side. Next, we're going to be taking one of these rectangle wood pieces. Mine came from Walmart, but I hear that you can get them from the dollar store as well. I've just not been able to find them at mine. And again, we're just covering those with the antique wax, front and all of the sides, wiping off any excess with a paper towel. Next, I'm going to be using this faux leather ribbon from Dollar Tree. You guys, I am loving this stuff. It is so great. It is a little hard to find these days, though. Anyway, we're cutting 2 small strips, and we're going to be lining those up on the edges and just hot gluing those to the back. I wasn't worried about adding the super glue to this particular part because it's just decorative. It's not really there for support. So once I get those added on, I am going to go ahead and use super glue and hot glue to glue it right down in the middle of those 2 paint stir sticks. It's only going to touch on those paint stir sticks, so that's the only place that you're going to be putting the glue. Once we've got that glued down, I am using white permanent vinyl. I'm trying to show you here, but it's really hard to see. I just cut out a bunch of really long, skinny rectangles out of the white vinyl. And then also this word that says chores. So we're gonna add the word chores to the middle there. I thought it was the perfect way to cover up where all of those pieces are being joined together and also, you know, identify that this is the chore board. Okay, so here's where I made another mistake, guys. You should definitely seal this before you continue on with adding your vinyl to the board, and you'll see why here in just a second. So as you can see here, I totally wrecked the board. So I did have to go back and repaint that yet again, and then go outside and spray a coat of polyacrylic on it because I could not find my Mod Podge. So I would highly recommend that you seal it before you start adding vinyl. Now, another mistake that I made is the font that I selected for the chores was a very skinny font. I would highly recommend that you choose something that's a little bit more substantial because this was a pain in the butt. I also could not use my transfer tape because it kept pulling up the paint. So needless to say, this board was a giant headache that I almost quit on several times, but we really did need it, so I just kept trucking along. So now you see me, I'm laying out the horizontal lines, and I'm just using, it looks like white rectangles, but they are the words for the chores, and I'm just using them to space them out for each individual of our family, or in this case, the mom and dad section, to make sure that I left enough space for the words, but had enough room to write all of the chores in. Once I added a vertical piece separating out the chores from what will designate what day of the week each one of those chores occur, I then started adding the chores. Now, because I couldn't use the transfer tape, I was transferring these by hand with tweezers. It is not straight in any way, shape, or form, guys. So learn from my mistakes and don't do it this way. Again, I also chose the worst font ever because it was super skinny and hard to grab, and it was just learn from my mistakes. It turns out really awesome in the end, I promise, but it's definitely not perfect, and you guys can make it better, I promise. So I've got the days of the week across the top, and then the chores are gonna go down the left-hand side, and then I also just cut out these X's, and that's gonna mark off which day of the week they need to do their chores. Next up, what I did is take all of the magnets. I wasn't a huge fan of the coloring on these, and honestly, they're so old, they were a little bit damaged. So I'm covering them in black paint. Again, learn from my mistakes. After painting these, in addition to using a different paint, after painting these, you should seal it before you move on. Once those were dry, I'm gonna go ahead and start adding on little check marks with a circle around them. Now, I did try using a Sharpie paint pen. Here I'm trying to use my Arteza paint pen. None of it was really working well, so I ended up using one of those chalk markers that you can get from Walmart, Dollar Tree, all kinds of places, and it worked really well, except for I should have used my spray polyacrylic to seal these up once I was done with this part, but you'll see that I did not do that. So while those were drying, I went ahead and took out some popsicle sticks, and I'm just covering those in antique wax as well. For these ones, I'm actually doing the front, back, sides, all of it. I want the whole thing to be covered. Once I was done with those, I actually just took a Sharpie and started writing out extra chores. So on one side, I wrote the name of the extra chore, and once I finished all of that, on the back side, I just put extra with a little $sign. These chores are not my kids' normal chores. These are extra chores that they are able to do if they want to earn a little extra money throughout the week or anything like that. It's not something we require from them. It's just something that they have the opportunity to do to earn more money. So once those are all done, I'm taking these magnets from Dollar Tree and just gluing them on to the back of each one of those popsicle sticks. And these magnets are actually super good, guys. Now, I didn't get the greatest angle of this for you guys, so I do apologize. Trying to figure out how to film all this was kind of difficult. But basically what I'm doing, I'm just taking extra jars that we had around the house, putting a little bit of hot glue on the jar and making just one handle. And then I'm gonna start at the bottom. I made sure that the handle goes all the way down to the bottom of the jar because I wanna make sure that this is secure. It's not gonna fall off when my kids are tugging on it. So I basically wanted it to be covered in glue. So I'm taking the nautical rope from the Dollar Tree and I'm just starting at the bottom and going all the way around, making sure that I wrap around that handle each time I go around. For the top jar, I did make sure to cover a little bit of the bottom because it's going to be a little bit higher up. I was afraid you would see just that I didn't cover the bottom, so I did do part of the bottom. Then once I got closer to the top, I actually bent the handle, the little loop there, bent it backwards and glued on the opposite side, like in between the handle and the jar, so that I could make sure that it covered the jar really well. I cut the end at an angle and secured it in place, and now we have a jar to hang on the board with to hold the extra chores. And then I just repeated this same process with our second jar. So a couple of things you can see here is that I did add an extra column on the end for the extra chores so they can add the extra chores there. And then I also didn't get anything filmed for adding these hooks, but they are just some metal hooks that I got on Amazon, and I added one to the top and one that's not all the way at the bottom but kind of halfway between the bottom. You'll see it, and that's for hanging the jars on the board. Now I am, again, sorry I couldn't get a very good view of this because this piece is so large, but I'm using the faux leather ribbon and just covering the top. The reason I did this, you can't really see it very well in the video, but there is some wording on there, the Melissa and Doug brand. So I just wanted to make sure that I got that part covered up because it wasn't facing the right direction. Then I'm taking a little piece of the faux leather ribbon and I am making it into a super skinny bow. So all I did was just wrap it around my hand several times, and then I pinched it in the center, took another skinny part of the leather rope and just wrapped it around the center and added some hot glue to secure it down. Once I've got that secured, I just go ahead and kind of fluff it up, and then I can add it to the center of my board, and this really was the final touch to this project. And once you're done with this step, you're ready to hang up your board and your kiddos can use it. That's it for today's video, guys. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please remember to give it a big thumbs up. And if you are new here, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below and the notification bell next to it so that you can be notified every single time that I upload a video. And remember, I make the mistakes so that you guys don't have to. Until next time, guys, I'll be seeing you. Are your kids already driving you crazy this summer? Mine are. In our house, we like to, no, that's weird. My hair is also terrible. Every chore system that we have tried to use in the past has completely fallen short. Why did I pause so long right there? It's like my brain just went, let's try that again. So, in today's video, we are making a chore board. Now this is so much talking. Why is there so much talking? Because I like to talk. I like the sound of my own voice. Okay. Okay.